Republican clown car continuing to get more and more crowded with the addition of Mike Huckabee, Ben Carson, and Carly Fiorina. You may have forgotten about some of the other lesser covered but more insidious candidates. Some of the candidates that aren't really good media fodder because they don't say outrageous things, but are incredibly dangerous in their policy proposals. Of course, this is a reference to former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, who is most famous, of course, for union busting. And he wants to take that strategy to a national level. Now, this goes to a recent interview with Radio Iowa. Now, in this interview, Walker said that he would champion a federal version of the controversial right-to-work law that he signed in Wisconsin. Now, that's very important. Very important here. Because right to work, as we know, right to work basically is a way to shut down unions. Now, he says, quote, "As much as I think the federal government should get out of most of what it's in right now, I think establishing fundamental freedoms for the American people is a legitimate thing, and that would be something that would provide the opportunity in the other half of America to people who don't have those opportunities today." Now, freedom, right? Fundamental freedom. Well, when it comes to right to work, what is he talking about? Well, right to work is essentially saying that even if you work in a union shop, you can say, no, I'm not going to pay the dues. I'm not going to pay union dues. I'm not going to support the unions out of my paycheck. I can opt out. Now, that's had the unfortunate effect of severely weakening already weakened unions. And, of course, allowing for corporations to have more power in the workplace and workers to not have equal or any sort of representation in the workplace. Now, that's led, of course, to depressed wages, lesser safety concerns, lesser workplace regulations, all sorts of issues for the workers. You know, no retirement benefits, reduced benefits, no medical coverage, unless it's mandated through Obamacare. That kind of thing, not good if you're in a workplace. Unions are important. Now, some people will say, yeah, but unions, man, I don't want to pay for that. Well, you're a freeloader then. But first, okay, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself. All right. So basically, this says, and this article says, with Walker's blessing, Wisconsin became the 25th state to pass so-called right to work. It bans workplaces that have voted to unionize from collecting mandatory dues to support their collective bargaining efforts. And since that has happened, the state's union membership has declined. 2/3 of the state's members of the American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees have dropped out, causing membership to plummet from 63,000 to less than 20,000. That is significant. That is incredible. What a huge drop. Now, you might ask, I mean, this is a progressive channel. You might ask, why would people want to drop out of a union? Well, it comes down to, and here's sort of a point that I might agree with. Well, it comes down to money in politics. Who do the unions normally donate to? Well, they donate to Democrats because Democrats do pass union-friendly measures. Well, there are a large number of people who in unions who are Republican, who vote for Republicans. I don't understand it. They vote against their own interests when they vote Republican, but that's what they do. And so unions, well, they think, well, I don't want my money going to Democrats. I don't want my union dues going to Democrats. So I'm going to drop out. Right to work. I support it. Well, that's their rationale. Now, once again, that rationale, I think, leads to shooting themselves in the foot. And also, it leads to being a freeloader. Scott Walker, signing in this bill, this right to work, the whole idea of right to work says you can be a freeloader. That union that spent money to fight for you, to fight for good working conditions and better pay, that union you shouldn't have to support it. You should be able to freeload off of it. Wait a minute, I thought conservatives were against freeloading. I thought they wanted everybody to work hard, to not sponge off other people's money, other people's hard work. Well, it seems like right to work is exactly that. Freeloading. They are freeloaders. You drop out of a union and still get union benefits? You're a freeloader. I hate to say it, but if you support right to work, you support freeloading off hardworking people. Now, the other part of that is where I will agree with you. If you don't like your money going to Democrats through the union, then maybe you should support something like getting money out of politics in general. Look, I don't think unions should be able to donate to Democrats or Republicans or whoever they would donate to. And I don't think anybody should be donating to any political party. Well, that's a group, a corporation. I think nobody should have the power to buy our elections, our elected officials. No one. Elections should be publicly financed. That would eliminate the union issue of donating to Democrats immediately. And then there's the freeloading issue as well, which I think you should not be allowed to freeload. So that's what Scott Walker wants to bring to the national stage. And that's what makes him so incredibly dangerous. Now finally he says, what we did wasn't just fight unions. It was fighting the stranglehold that big government special interests had on state and local governments. Once again, he's referencing the role of money in politics and the unions. And if we were to get an amendment to get money out of politics, that would eliminate that issue, would also eliminate one of their biggest talking points against unions, is that they just give to Democrats. Fine. You know what? I actually agree. You shouldn't give to Democrats. Unions shouldn't be able to give to Democrats or Republicans, and neither should corporations. End of story. Wolf-pack.com. Get rid of the money in politics, and you get rid of this issue. And then what are they going to fall back on?